This confirmation process has become a national disgrace. This is a circus.
This is a circus. It's a national disgrace.
Today, many people are asking, given what happened yesterday, has anything changed for women? In the 27 years since Clarence Thomas, a Republican nominee for the U.S. Supreme Court, was accused of sexual harassment, then as now, women rose up in anger. And since then, we've seen things like 1 million women march in Washington. We've seen many powerful men being taken down by the Me Too movement. And yet, these hearings have cast some doubt on just how far women have come. Joining me tonight to talk about that, freelance writer and culture commentator Bee Quammie. She is in Toronto. And here in Ottawa with me, Julie Lalonde, women's advocate and educator. Good to see you both. So let me start with, might sound like a simple question. Maybe the answers will be harder. Bee, I'll start with you. How did you feel when you woke up this morning?
You know, I felt drained. I felt very exhausted. I felt very unprepared for what today was going to bring, in continuation of what we saw yesterday. So I was just really tired and I just didn't know what was coming next.
How about you, Julie?
Yeah, I'm real tired and real angry, frankly. I think we need to acknowledge that there are a lot of women who are deeply, deeply upset by having to watch this wall-to-wall coverage. Women who have put themselves in Dr. Ford's shoes, who have been in those positions before. And I think that's where my anger comes from, is like, how many times do women have to tell their stories of trauma before something is going to change?
Okay, you both, we asked both of you to choose a moment that you saw yesterday that hit you or impacted you in some way. So I'll start with Bee's moment, I'll play it, and then I'll get you to explain why you chose it.
Apart from the assault itself, these past couple of weeks have been the hardest of my life. I've had to relive this trauma in front of the world. And I've seen my life picked apart by people on television, on Twitter, other social media, other media, and in this body who have never met me or spoken with me.
Okay, Bee, why did that resonate with you?
You know, that moment, it really resonated with me because to see somebody like Dr. Ford, who has the courage that she's had, come forward and still deal with this terrible, traumatic aftermath on top of the trauma of what she experienced. On one hand, it shows her courage, and that was a moment that I said, you know, this woman is a warrior to be able to do this and to have gone through what she's gone through. But on the other hand, I look at somebody like her who kind of has that social position of presenting as a white, cis, able-bodied woman, educated, who's very accomplished. And I think about, if she has been treated that way, what hope is there for any other woman who doesn't fit that medium to be able to share their story and be fine after it?
Okay, let me go to Julie's because it's very different. So I want you to tell me why you've chosen this one. Here, take a look.
This is not a job interview.
Yeah.
This is hell.
This
is going to destroy the ability of good people to come forward because of this crap.
So Lindsey Graham sort of defending, I guess, Kavanaugh. Julie, what struck you about that?
The nerve, frankly, the nerve to be that fired up and angry about someone who's being grilled at a job interview. It's a job interview. And not only does Brett Kavanaugh feel like a victim, somehow Lindsey Graham feels like he's also a victim. He's the one that's contributing to making it unsafe for survivors to come forward, and he has the audacity to claim that the people who want Brett Kavanaugh to answer these questions are somehow the ones who are torturing Dr. Ford and other victims. Him and people who think like him and act like him are the reasons why survivors don't come forward.
Okay, there was another moment today that got a lot of people talking, stopped them in their seats when they were watching TV, and I want to play that too. This is Jeff Flake getting stuck in an elevator with a real person who had some things to say to him. Take a look.
What are you doing, sir?
I was sexually assaulted and nobody believed me. I didn't tell anyone, and you're telling all women that they don't matter, that they should just stay quiet, because if they tell you what happened to them, you're going to ignore them. That's what happened to me, and that's what you're telling all women in America, that they don't matter. They should just keep it to themselves, because if they have told the truth, you're just going to help that man to power anyway.
Of course, Jeff Flake went on to be the person that allowed for this additional week of an investigation to happen. But when you watch that, what do you think this whole week and that has told us about where things stand when it comes to women being believed about assault and harassment. Bee, I'll start with you.
You know, part of it is not so much questioning the belief. What sticks out for me is in that moment, and I actually avoided watching that clip throughout the day just because I knew kind of how raw that moment was going to be. So that was the first time I've actually seen it. But her saying, you don't care, that's more of the issue to me. We have hashtags believe survivors and all these different types of things. There are a lot of people who do believe survivors. They just don't care, because for them, the potential of the person who's being accused is of more value than the life of the person who has been victimized or has been abused. So the question of belief is one thing, but for the people who do believe and still don't care because they think, well, this man would be wonderful to be, you know, on the Supreme Court, it doesn't matter what he's done, that's the real problem right there.
Julie, just sort of in reaction to that clip, but also what it tells us about these issues and where people are in their thinking around them.
To me, I've seen that clip before, and I still find it so upsetting to watch and to listen to. And to me, it's the desperation that I think it resonates with so many women and resonates with so many people following the story, is that we are so desperate to matter. And we're so desperate to be heard, and it doesn't matter in what format we do it, whether we're calm, composed, and prestigious like Dr. Ford, or we're desperately screaming at a man in an elevator. It doesn't matter what we do. Respectability politics doesn't matter, because inevitably we're not going to be heard, and we're not heard. And that's, to me, why I think that clip in particular has really resonated with so many people, is like you can just hear the pleading in her voice. And I think that's so many of us.
Do you feel, I'll end on this, do you feel like men, because this is ultimately also about men, do you feel like there are men out there, though, that are getting it now? That there are weeks like this that are become sort of a moment of education for men, and they're hearing it? Bee.
There was one man, I can't remember his name, but he corrected himself on Twitter because he tweeted something that went viral where he said, I hope everybody is sitting their daughters down in front of the TV to watch what's happening so that they can see what it means to be a really strong survivor. And so many people responded back saying, well, what about the people who should have their sons sitting down watching this to see what happens when you create a victim, and how to have conversations about not letting that continue? So just seeing that happen in real time and having conversations with men in my life, I definitely see that there are tides turning and there are some difficult conversations being had that are bringing about some more hope for me there.
Julie, on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, by definition, I work to end violence against women, so by definition, I have to be optimistic. Otherwise, I wouldn't get up in the morning. And I do think that absolutely there are people, good men have been listening since the start. I think good men now have more kind of ammunition to bring to their kind of middle of the road friends, and just understand that for women, this is not just a news story. This hits close to home for every single woman I know. And good men out there, please understand that and reach out to the women and girls in your life this week and check in and ask them how they're doing.
Okay, that's a good spot to leave it. Thank you both very much. Smart conversation. Bee and Julie, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.